Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. Stay tuned as I will be chatting with John Ramdian and Robin Black in just a couple of minutes about all of today's news. We are going to be chatting about Bellator from Thursday night, featuring the semifinals of two tournaments. World Series of Fighting picks up another free agent, and George St-Pierre and Nick Diaz engage in the greatest conference call in UFC history. On Thursday, the UFC hosted a conference call promoting UFC 158, and promote the show they did. For the 45 minutes, Jake Ellenberger and Nate Marquardt were not asked one question, with Carlos Condit and Johnny Hendricks speaking once. The stars of the call were George St-Pierre and, of course, Nick Diaz, who did more to sell this event in 25 minutes than any countdown show could possibly do at this point.
If I had that much money, I'd be pampering myself up. I'd be having motherfuckers pampering my left and right. There'd be every hour on hour showing up to pamper me out. Period.
Let me tell you something, uneducated fool. Let's listen to me. The team I have, the team.
Right. Okay. I'm going off. The team do a great job of explaining and making things real for what they are, motherfucker. I'm not stupid. You say what you're gonna say. I'll listen.
I made myself. I work very hard to be where I am right now. And as much as I know you don't believe this because you didn't succeed yet, and maybe you will never succeed in your life because I don't think you're smart enough to understand how you should do to reach that point.
Okay, if I wore some tight shorts out there and got a fucking haircut, and I had someone buttering me up halfway through telling me this bullshit, maybe it would have worked out. You don't even know where I come from. You're trying to talk about where you come from. Right.
If you are where you are right now, and I am where I am, it's not my fault. It's because of you, man. You did not succeed. You did not succeed because of you, man. Because of you.
Whatever. Whoever said, whenever I was never putting any blame or pointing any fingers towards you or anything being your fault. You're the one rapping about how you're not pampered or you are pampered. Whatever. Answer the question then. That's all this is about. You don't have any arguments with me.
Excellent. Just excellent. You can hear 45 minutes of that online now. Ariel Helwani at MMAfighting.com reported on Thursday night that free agent John Fitch has signed with the upstart World Series of Fighting organization. The group has stated they will be running 6 events per year on the NBC Sports Network, with Fitch targeting a June 14th debut for the organization. Temecula, California was home to Bellator on Thursday night, and the semifinals of their middleweight and featherweight tournaments. Mike Richmond got a split decision victory over Alexander Bezeha in the first featherweight bout, and he will meet Frodo Hasbullaev in the finals, who looked excellent, stopping Marlon Sandro at 2:38 of the third round. In the middleweight bracket, Brett Cooper stopped Dan Kramer at 3:19 of the third round, while Doug the Rhino Marshall got a split decision victory over Sultan Aliyev on scores of 29-28 twice, and one judge having it 30-27 for Aliyev. All right, guys, we are joined here, John Ramdian, Robin Black, coming off of Bellator on Thursday night in Temecula, California. 2 sets of tournament semifinals here and some interesting decisions. We'll call it interesting because I don't know how Bezeha lost that fight.
Oh, I think the reason why he lost that fight is because he kept getting lit up by Mike Richmond. Yes, he controlled Richmond when he was on the ground in the grappling department, but I think that the former naval officer did more damage when the fight was standing, and I think that's why he was given the nod.
Nick Diaz and George St-Pierre, many are calling it the greatest conference call in history. I don't necessarily know what that entails, but nonetheless, just fascinating audio here to hear these two go back and forth, getting clearly under the skin of George St-Pierre. And Nick Diaz, I mean, it's just nothing is rehearsed about this guy, and to me, making this fight so much more compelling than it was 24 hours ago.
Well, I like what you said there. Nothing is rehearsed. Listen, man, Nick Diaz is the real thing. People are going to analyze what he said, and he does move back and forth. But the fact is, this is not for George. I believe what Nick Diaz is going through is for himself. He's either taking himself to this angry place, allowing himself to go to this angry place, or he has no control over it, and that's where he goes. But it's where he needs to go to perform like this. This guy is so real. In a world full of people who all thank their coaches and say the exact same things and say, I'm not looking past my next opponent, and this is the best training camp I've ever had, and all that nonsense, you see this very real, very visceral animal, and Nick Diaz is a tremendously exciting fighter, and he is really, really a passionate kind on a freak show, and it's amazing to see.
The thing about it is Nick Diaz has not changed since his first stint in the UFC. I remember when he was fighting Lawler, he believed that he had to kill Robbie Lawler because Robbie Lawler was coming to kill him. This is a guy that just puts himself in a different place because he believes that the man standing across from that cage wants to end his life. So in order for him to get up for these fights, he has to believe it. And it actually bleeds over to Nathan as well. You see his brother treat his opponents the same way. So obviously they have some sort of dialogue in the Cesar Gracie camp about this guy is trying to end your life. You have to put yourself wherever you have to have the best performance and take this guy out.
Would you guys not say, like, yes, unprofessional at times when this guy's missed press conferences and interviews, but at the same time, I'm glad that there is someone like Nick Diaz, this wild card who is just so fascinating to watch, and someone that I think just has this incredible aura about him that is just so unlike any other fighter we see right now in the UFC, that it's just, there's a certain magnetism to just watching this guy just in everyday life and interacting here. I'm glad there's people like this.
Well, for Nick Diaz, he just doesn't want you to flip the script, and if you go back to his early days in the UFC, he's like, I never had to do any of this stuff. My job was I signed the contract, I got in the cage, and I fought.
How does this guy survive media week in Montreal? This is going to be more press than he's ever had for any fight before.
And you know what? You just get the feeling he's going to use it. He's going to use it to get all wound up. He is so real. And, you know, like I said, in a world of people that are fake and say what they got to fake, this is the real thing. Nick Diaz, I don't know if you watch this, but, man, don't change a thing. You're a fascinating athlete, and you're an animal.
Do yourself a favor and check out this conference call. It is fascinating, and to me has made Fight Week all the more interesting as we count down to UFC 158. But we've got more of Fight News Now Extra coming your way.